Hello, it's your meeting. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the bi-weekly Koala meeting in the Transparency Exchange API working group. I have updated the meeting notes from last meeting with the kind of random notes we got on the index discussion and some notes on the collections as well. I also created a proposed agenda for today. If you have any other topics, just let me know and we'll try to cover them. First then, on the formal side, the TC54 TG1, I had a proposal last time, and I think we reached some sort of agreement to continue with kind of open community meetings until we have some specs. So what I'm writing right now is say that during Q3 in the fall, to try to have one meeting a month, an official TG1 meeting, and then ramp it up during Q4, because hopefully we'll have more documents, more ready specifications, and say that every second meeting is an official TG1. The thing with the TG meetings is that you are either an ECMA member, then everything is hunky-dory and everyone is happy. But if you're not a member, then we have to go through some formal routines to add you as an invited expert to the TG1. We will help you with that, and we have a wonderful member of ECMA that can work with us on that, Samina. So we need to start that work and go through who wants to join the working group. We also need to elect a convener of the working group that has to be, if I remember correctly, an ECMA member. I guess if we can't find anyone else, I'll have to go through again and see if I can handle the cost of becoming an ECMA member. But that's something we need to solve. But
can we, in addition to the weekly, these are weekly calls, right? Koala, yep. Or are they bi-weekly? Are they weekly?
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. In addition to the bi-weekly calls, can we also schedule a monthly TG1 meeting?
Yeah, that's
I think there's
what I say, that we should take one meeting a month, but I base this on weekly meetings. Maybe we can switch to weekly meetings in Q3 and have one of them as a TG1. Or do you want to have one in addition to the community meetings?
You know, if we kept these every 2 weeks, the community meetings every 2 weeks, in my opinion,
then we could add a TG1. Yeah, we could add a TG1 in the middle.
Right. You know, I think there's some things that the TG could probably work on independent of what the community is currently working on.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff would that be, Steve? Would it be things like moving the project from CycloneDX across to OWASP?
That would be one of the considerations, absolutely. So things that are not part of what we are creating as a specification here in the community, right? We've got the decisions to be made for where that repository is going to live, how you know, what formats and whatnot for the meeting notes. Now that we have a dedicated repository for TG1, how are we going to do that? We can start structuring the ECMA document today if we want to. My learnings from the CycloneDX big TC is that this ECMA document is, well, the word templates that ECMA uses, while they are compatible with the ISO templates, there are enough differences that make working with the ECMA document template very, very challenging. If we start using the ECMA document, then that's fine. But trying to retrofit something existing is problematic. So we'll have to set up a working model where we can start contributing from a TG perspective to the ECMA document. We can also start looking at conformance requirements and a few other scoping related things within the document already. So I think there's enough things that the TG can kind of work on that's independent of the specification that the community is trying to develop.
Okay,
So
but if we
does that mean then that sorry, I'm interrupting. You would almost so as soon as possible get in place a system whereby a PR that is submitted would be tested against the ECMA document and template, and then flag when, for instance, a word like organization has been spelt the wrong way.
Oh, no. We would start greenfield. So we would not, create an ECMA document from a PR. That is not what we're going to do here. We can't. That is, we've done it for Cyclone, but Cyclone has a ton of documentation, 500 pages worth. And it is exceptionally painful. Especially when Microsoft doesn't follow their own OpenXML standard. Probably the exact same reason why LibreOffice has challenges, right?
And don't ask Steven about vector format pictures. I did. Big mistake. Let's go on.
Yeah, please.
So I take it the decision we made is to continue with bi-weekly community meetings and add an official TG1 meeting once a month to start with during Q3. And then we'll see, or sooner.
Yeah, let's get that meeting going now if we can. We are in fact we've got
it's just a problem with European holidays, Steve, but
yeah, I know, especially with July, August.
But we'll try and we'll see if we can get energy going.
Yeah.
We are
forming one with TG2 as well. For example, Philippe is going to be sending out the invite for that in the next couple days.
Yeah. So, Joe.
Sorry, I interrupted. Is TG2 on Perl?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, hi, Yotam. Welcome. I see you're connecting. Who in this call know that your organization or ECMA member apart from Steve?
I can state that my organization was an ECMA member for 25 years and left ECMA just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Am I the only one representing it? Well, Jan, technically. Jan is representing OWASP.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Piotr, do you want to follow us to ECMA?
Yeah, if it's possible.
Yeah. Pavel?
Yeah, sure.
Tell me if I said.
It's KH.
I always do that, don't I? I'm sorry.
No worries.
You just got a Swedish spelling on your surname. So. And there's 2 H's. Okay. Jotam, you're in a new company, so I guess you're not ECMA members.
Yes, not ECMA members. We're just starting out, hoping to raise seed funding. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll contact Samina. I have a lot of documentation on this, and I'll keep you in the loop. Yeah. There will be a form with, you know, the usual drill. Maybe we should try to engage some more people that are members, but we'll see. I just
So
added
where a few weeks ago I suggested that inviting somebody from Sonotype would be an example of possible good intersection of interests.
Yeah, I think I have been having discussions with Fossa and Shane Loop and someone else, I guess. And they're interested, but maybe it's too early for them to make a decision about participation. That's why I added another thing here. We can come back to that. One idea I had is that we have a use cases document we've been working with for a long time. Maybe we could prepare that as a first input to the ECMA work and have as a separate document just to learn and get things rolling.
Yeah, we could
And
theoretically create an introduction, kind of like we did for the CycloneDX document, where you're providing an overview of what it is that you're doing before you actually get into the meat of the specification itself. That's absolutely work that we could do.
A problem description and so on. So that could be a TG1 first work item, I think. As Steve said, we have got a new repo, and this is for the ECMA work. I have access, and I got some ideas for spending my holiday setting up a structure in there from John, but we'll figure it out. But we now have the community GitHub where we have our documentation currently. So this will be used for meeting agendas, meeting protocols, and as well as documentation. So at some point, maybe not now, we need to discuss also the output structure, if we want a single big standard or if we want multiple documents that we can version control independently. We can keep that in the back of our heads and see where we're going. Okay. Any other TC54 ECMA related issues?
I don't think so. I think one thing that kind of Mark alluded to earlier was English dialect. So I think the community should adopt British English as its standard, because it will make going from the community work to ECMA much easier.
You know that British English is no longer the standard within the European Union. It's Irish English.
Interesting.
Because the Brits left, so but
Yeah, actually,
English
Oh, that's true.
Not
Irish.
unofficial. Yeah.
That's funny. Yes.
So it's
ECMA.
back.
So
Yeah.
ISO actually has a and it's not true British English. It's really a hybrid of mostly Oxford English, right? Except for words that originate from Greek origins with ISO. So like all the standardization, IZ, right? All
Mhm.
all of those are US spellings, not British spellings. So we don't use like ISM, for
Okay.
example, in that. So if we can adopt that in the community, I think it would make our translation to the ECMA documents much easier.
But we'll try to set that as a guide and help each other and find ways of controlling that. In worst case, I have a daughter who went to British University and specially focused on this. So then I have to bribe her to go through what I write. Anyway,
Just to see that it's IZ in British English, not IZ.
Yes.
Just see-
I'll never be able to get that right.
and we can no longer say Queen's English. So
No. And I'm gonna have to really change my how I spell artifact. That's gonna be hard for me.
yeah, I know. I have the Swedish spelling, the English. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Another idea that I've been having in the back of my mind that I forgot to add to the agenda before we get into hardcore stuff. I would like to set up a wider open meeting where we run through parts of the presentation, the use cases, just to get some buy-in from potential vendors. I know many of them are interested, but they're kind of scared to attend these meetings because that's supposed to have to do work. But I would really like to inform them what we're doing, and potentially if some of them wants to contribute hours towards it, I think it's important.
So right now, Koala is kind of falls under the CycloneDX umbrella. CycloneDX is an OWASP project. What we can do, and that might change, right? It might just go purely into the ECMA. But what we can do is we can schedule a webinar, right? I think the OWASP license for what do we use? Zoom. I think our OWASP license for Zoom allows up to 1,000 participants for a webinar. So we can work with the OWASP Foundation to schedule and promote that webinar, as well as support us in actually having it. So
Yeah,
that is an
if
option.
we can get distribution within OpenSSF, that would be very nice.
Mhm.
I have a scheduled meeting with Omkar, so I'll try to promote that.
Okay.
It's hard to get something said in meetings with him, but we'll see. Okay. Who feels that you want to participate in this? I know that I can draft Steve and myself without a problem, but anyone else that wants to promote an angle on why this is important work and how it fits in?
Yeah,
Maybe
I'd like to.
Piotr. Okay.
No, I'd be happy to participate in any meetings.
As a speaker.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Likewise.
I think I might be able to
Okay.
get maybe somebody. I mean, I can put on my ServiceNow hat as well, but I might be able to get another representative from ServiceNow to come in and present why we think it's important.
Okay.
Steve, is
Cool.
it you've got such the gift of the gab that really so people automatically think of you as being the go-to person to do such a presentation.
Yeah.
Maybe Dependency Track wants to.
Yeah, I would much. I mean, yes, you are right, Mark. I would prefer to be there and not necessarily do a lot of the present. I can certainly present. I just don't want to be the primary one.
No.
Presenting.
But you're kind of a figurehead for CycloneDX, so if you just say a few words and then hand over to
Yeah,
the
of
program.
course,
But
of course.
we'll
get-
hash.
Yeah, we can get Nicholas, for example, to talk a little bit about dependency track, for example, and how this kind of fits in with our vision, or we can get somebody from IBM to hopefully do something similar, because they are very, very active in the dependency track project.
Cool.
I'll try to
what
rally somebody from ServiceNow as
Yeah.
well.
what I'll do, I open up a Google Doc document. I'll share the link in the chat in the Slack, and we'll just jot down ideas from there. But if we can get a 1.5-hour seminar with multiple angles, I think that would be extremely beneficial for our work.
It would be wonderful to have somebody like Nicholas as a presenter, because then you get the joy of listening to his German accented English using words like fancy schmancy. He uses a lot of English colloquialisms, but it's all with a German accent, and it's sometimes it's great to listen to.
He's a good presenter.
He is.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for buying into that idea. I think it will be a great event. We just need to carefully schedule it so it doesn't. I mean, we have to collide with some because Europe is going on holiday until September, but we'll just have to get it in there somewhere and find the right people.
But of course, whatever we do will be then published on YouTube, and anyone can have a look at it later.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for that. Can we move on to the next bullet on the agenda? Okay, the current discovery proposal, which you all read, hint, includes 2 items where we need to register to get our namespaces. I just wanted to highlight that I think there is a way to pre-book them before we made our official documentation. I'm going to be in contact with the designated person in IANA for this, but we probably need to write down some documents on the namespace in parallel.
Yeah, I think they captured the individual that submitted the proposal as well as the organization that they represent. So like for CycloneDX, we've got some registered URNs, right? And they're under the OWASP Foundation. I think Patrick submitted them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've gone through this process before. Not with IETF, but with because with IANA, for example, you can do the more formal route, which is through IETF, and you basically present that RFC then, or you can do the more informal URN schema, which actually has a slightly different.
It's a different process.
It's a different process. It's a much lighter weight process, but it's limited in, for example, what media type you can use. For example, everything needs to start with the informal, needs to start with the X hyphen and then whatever.
I think the X is removed.
Oh, has that been removed?
We published an RFC in an IETF on why X is harmful, because it stays on forever in the code if you introduce something like that. But I think there is just a simple expert review and need for some sort of formal document in GitHub or an IETF unpublished draft, not an RFC anymore. But I'll check that as long as everyone is aware of it, and we'll do something, work on the templates in the community repository. But then I know that I can steal inspiration from current registrations, then life is more simple. Okay.
We should, one decision I think we need to make on the registration of these is what organization will this be? And this could be the OWASP Foundation, it could be ECMA International. I don't know the answer to this, but it's something we probably need to discuss at the TG level, would be my guess.
I don't think it formally matters as long as we have a registration that points to a specification. But
Right.
if ECMA is bothered with it, then maybe we should do it with ECMA.
Yeah,
Then we'll write
we
a
just need to
document
figure it
and
out.
hand it over to the TG that hands it over to the TC, and we'll go through it. But okay, we're all aware that we have to register the namespaces here, and we'll handle it. Okay.
Right, one question about that. It was mentioned a minute ago that you basically have like am I right in remembering a contact individual and email address when you register?
But
That needs to be thought through as well, because I remember my own organization, we registered something in the IANA ports, and the person who did it actually used his own email address and a corporate domain, which has now changed. So nowadays, that email address would fail both at the local part and the domain part. It has to be, this is where it's an advantage to use like an organization like OWASP, where you get an OWASP email address.
Yeah, I don't think those addresses are required. I don't think the registration is, deprecated because the email bounces. There are a lot of historical addresses you can see there. Sun Microsystems is all over, and they don't exist. But when starting the first couple of years, it has to be something logical, and we'll find out whether that's OWASP or ECMA. But as long as we register something. Okay. Last time we had a discussion about the T-index. This is, if you remember, the first point of contact after discovery. That's when I hit the URL for a specific product, not a company, a product. I need to get a list of something. And we had a discussion last time. I have some random notes here, back and forth, and we need to figure out what is on there. And one question that I try to put a bit pressure on is whether we can do this on a very, very simple index file system level, or if we need some compute. And I think we ended up on the compute side. Have you considered this a bit more since last meeting?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of work on this based on data like that we have on open source project. I mean, I didn't have much time, but I can present you a little bit. And
okay,
I have, and
cool.
Based on, yeah,
Do you
based
want
on this,
to screen share or?
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually, well, let me show you first, and then yeah, I'd like to ask for feedback if that's the right direction, or what's like the complete scope as you see. So
can you make the text a little bit bigger, Pavel, for us old people?
Is it better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. So I mean that's like I didn't have much time, and the data is this is like public project data from our live system that I put locally from Realize essentially. So these are a bunch of, so you see this is let's say the base for the index. I called it components. And we have much more data in the system, but I kind of didn't put like more effort. So it essentially it lists all the components that you have there. Each of them has UUID, which is our UUID. And then let's say you can take, So I believe I used this one. So you can take one of these UIDs and you kind of go to the next page, which is component/UID. And then this is how we arrange components. Again, this is something that can be discussed, but we have what's called branches, which in this case kind of mostly boils down to the version numbers of specific Postgres. And then if you go into the branch similar way, like here you get, like I already have it open. So you have specific releases for, in this case, for Postgres version 14. So from here, what I was thinking, and I mean, we kind of have it to some degree in our system, but not fully. So from here, what I was thinking, for every version, you get essentially the BOM, like different BOM files and all the artifacts, like additional documentation, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually as far as I got. And
Cool.
yeah, and basically, yeah, I'm kind of looking for feedback. Is it the direction you were thinking about as well, or something?
I think if I can steal the screen again.
Sure. I'll
Um,
stop on my side.
yeah, I think this is good, but always a but. Zoom keeps moving my windows around. Do you actually see the presentation now, or what do you see? A forest.
Like a forest and a tiny window, but nothing.
Okay,
And a dog.
Okay, it's better now.
it selected the wrong window. You saw my
Okay.
dog in a forest. It's a very nice picture. Anyway, Pavel, I think you started a bit out of scope, but the second level is where we are, because we already have a single product, right? We start with a single product, and then we go into what you called the branches for that product.
Right.
And the thing is, you had a JSON, very simple. You had a UID and a tag for that branch. We may want more. I don't know. We had a discussion about metadata.
Yeah. I have. Yeah, that's another thing. So
And
I have. Sorry, I have a bunch of like metadata in the system, but I kind of was not sure, and I think that's what we need to discuss: what specific fields and how to present.
yeah. And then for when we selected a specific version we want, then we come to the next level, which is the collection of artifacts. And we can keep that out of scope for today. But the product index here can be massive. You created a single JSON that has to be parsed. Is that the way we go today with this kind of index? I mean, we could have many years of index. For a cloud service that's updated every day times 10 years of CRA.
Well, I mean, for a cloud service, it's going to be the single product. I'm more interested, I think, in the organizations that have 30, 40, 50,000 products or more, as well as some of the open source registries and whatnot, where you're going to have millions of products.
Yeah, but that's sold on a higher level here. You get the URL for a specific product. So you already selected the product. How you select the product comes earlier up here in the discovery phase. And we can go back to that later on. But right
again,
now,
if you had like 40, 50,000 products, which some, commercial entities do, that itself is also going to be a pretty large JSON document.
If it's a JSON document, but we can come back to that. Right now, I'm interested in this to keep us in scope. It's so easy to be all over the place. But let's try to focus on this to say for a specific product, we need an index on the versions. Some of these versions are not recommended to use. Some have gone through end of sale, maybe end of support, maybe end of life, but they're still used out there. Do we want that on this level? And if we have a single JSON like you showed, Pavel, that could be huge. It could be a parsing issue for people as well.
I think there are some documents that would be good at the product level. For example, the common life cycle enumeration, right?
Mhm.
Actually is going to apply to multiple product versions.
Oh,
So there's some things that are going to be applicable at the product level, and other things that are going to be very product version specific. And then you're going to have that middle ground where you're going to have things that are applicable to a range of product versions. Right. So for example, if I've got a product, I might have a single common life cycle enumeration for that product, because that's going to describe all the different versions and my history of what has transpired on that product. I might have an attestation or a pen test report for version 5 of something, right? That's going to be then applicable to all the 5.0.x, right? So it's going to be applicable to all the 5.0.x versions. And then I might have SBOMs that are going to be applicable to only those specific versions.
but that fact that some artifacts are applicable to multiple versions, that comes into the collection space.
Yeah.
That we need to figure out. But
the index needs to, I think, take that into consideration.
oh, so if we look at the index, you had, Pavel, you had a UID and basically an identifier name, and a version tag some kind. I mean, the user had, based on the product name or on pin code, barcode or something else, found that here's the T endpoint for this product I have, right? And now the user hopefully knows which version of the software component. But maybe a product consists of many components. Should we handle that here in the index?
But you have SBOM for that, no?
Yeah.
No, okay, not component, but okay, let's say my product has a base firmware, some sort of boot Linux image and something else. So the product actually have 3 different pieces of software that needs to be upgraded. And each of them have a separate collection of SBOMs and other artifacts.
Yeah, it's a common like enterprise thing where the marketing team creates basically a solution, which is basically like multiple products like configured to work together to solve a problem, but it's technically like multiple products. Do we want to handle the name of the solution as part of this as well? I don't know.
So the way we do it in our, I mean, we're only starting on this in our commercial software, is we have concept of bundles.
Yeah, I just wrote the word bundles in the
yes
notes.
No, that's the actual term that we have there. Yeah, the concept of bundles, which are programmatically actually same as products, but instead they consist of multiple products. And the way we we actually have it working already. So let's say you have several products in a bundle, and then you would essentially programmatically combine S-bombs for each subcomponent. I don't know if you want it like in this. I mean, it's quite complicated. I don't want it. I don't know if you want to include it in specs, but that's how we do it today.
Yeah,
think
you know,
we
this is an
need to handle
API,
this.
so
I mean, the problem with I'll tell the difficulty is the bundle, like a bundle doesn't point directly to products because components in a bundle may change over time.
Oh yeah.
So
But they
on
hopefully get different version numbers for the bundle.
right. So in a bundle, you have a set of versions of a bundle, and each version would have its own component. But for us humans, it kind of makes sense to denote it this way. However, computationally, it's all fluid. So you can I don't know replace firmware. So you only have like your specific firmware in this version of a bundle, but it won't appear in the next one. So this is the complication.
Okay, so I'm brainstorming here in the notes. I mean, discovery can lead to a point where we actually have something we can just now call a bundle index that refers to the various parts of the bundle. I'm trying not to use the word component because that's SBOM terminology. So an OLE controller 2.0 consists of two different parts. The base firmware and OLE boot with different version numbers. And both of these have different indexes. Or we could go directly to a T version index with a single thing. That could be one way we could handle this. But still, the T version index so we had a UID or some sort, couple of identifiers. We'll see. That's not critical. We had a version tag for selection, so I can go. But do we want to be able to add metadata like the common life cycle? So I can say directly at the index level something like this product version is no longer supported. Do we want that at the index level? I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you have any other metadata that we know could be in there?
The newer versions can be discovered from the index itself.
Yeah.
based on our
Do-
conversations last time, I'm wondering, you know, we talked, we saw a demo of a file-based approach using JSON. I wonder, you know, when we talk about compute, what led us down the path of possibly needing compute? I can't recall.
No, the deal breaker was authentication and authorization, as far as I remember.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you could have authentication authorization on file systems, but it's harder to manage.
Yeah, but it's all or nothing, right? That's the problem with file-based things. You can't do like part of a file. Yeah, okay. All right,
So
so that's
authorization
relatively minor.
on artifact level
Well,
requires.
metadata, I was just looking what we're using. Like we have a tag system. I don't know if, again, I don't know if you want to prescribe it in API, but it may be just key value tags on specific.
That helps you
Should
search for
we?
certain things.
Yes.
Okay.
Like if you have a lot of versions, and plus it can have because key value tags are essentially very flexible. So one use case we have is, let's say if you ship certain version to, I don't know, some third party, like you can even indicate that in the tags.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
common use
a
case.
big question when writing
We
standard
yeah
specs.
we also, by the way, we also want dates. Yeah, this like when version was created, or let's say
Absolutely.
sunsetted.
Yeah, that's all in the CLE, or will be.
Yeah. Okay. For key value tags, I mean, while I like having extensibility, it's kind of hard also to allow vendor extensions. We need to figure out here where we want to go. I'm not saying we have to make a decision here today, but it can lead to a strange market. We want to standardize this API as much as possible and get the things needed into the standard. So it's kind of, yeah, you understand. Okay. So from this, I think we can start working on something, but I'm still worried about the size of it, but maybe we could have pagination in the UI. So when I query, I can say I only want the 10 latest, and then I can paginate myself.
We
What
can
is-
paginate in the API as well. I mean, we can prescribe that it's at, I don't know, 500 per page, and then you have parameters for like page number, and that kind of solves it.
Yeah. One of the challenges, I posted a link in the chat, but one obvious thing to do in terms of size is to use an optimized binary format like CBOR. The challenge is that OpenAPI doesn't officially support CBOR. So it's kind of hard to develop an API specification for a binary protocol. And I'm not aware of any alternative to using binary JSON-like data in OpenAPI.
Regardless, even with CBOR, that after 5 or 10 years, it'll be a massive amount of data.
Yeah.
CBOR is encoding, not compression. But many web servers may optionally compress as well.
Right.
Yeah, Maven uses Lucene and very short keys, but it's still gigabytes of data with update files, so that you can select which one you download.
Yeah, but we can. I mean, with pagination, I think that problem can be handled if we're clever about it. And we could have a default pagination saying, well, if you don't ask for, send some query pattern in for version, then we'll give you the 50 latest or something.
can we also maybe specify that at the HTTP level that the responses are tar-gz, for example?
Yeah, you can do an accept
Right.
compression something. John,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the thing is similar to the HTTP request telling the server that it supports certain deflate, inflate things. So it could request the server to respond in a compressed format. It
Yep.
probably could also tell which data format it wants, if it should answer in JSON or another binary format that is to be determined. So the actual requester could tell the preferences for the request, and if they don't mind, there should be a default probably. It looks
Yeah,
like it should be JSON, but I mean, this is an implementation detail that could be expanded on later. You could just say, well, the default is JSON. We don't support anything else at the moment, but we are open for additions then and come up with that
that could be
later.
implementation specific, but we can definitely
I
mention and
think
give examples.
no, I think it's a good point. Like even if it's JSON, maybe you want it downloadable. For the compression at the HTTP, I personally don't think we should specify because this is a built-in feature for modern web service.
Yeah,
web servers. Yeah.
we just need to refer to the RFC so implementers can find that and understand. But we shouldn't specify it ourselves. It's already there in the protocol, as you say.
It's not really in the protocol, but most web server communication these days is you actually get zipped. Like if you request a large JSON, behind the scenes you get a zipped content.
I think the client has to indicate support for it, but otherwise
Right.
the server won't do it. So I think that is specified in an RFC somewhere. We just have to find it, but that can be doable.
Yes, but it's just a web server and browser property at this age.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I don't have expertise in the documents, so it needs to be formally specified. Then yes, but no real work needs to be done.
Yeah. Cool. We're getting close to the hour, but I think we made significant progress here with this. I'll try to. It is in the meeting notes as you see, but I'll try to write a document. Or if anyone else wants to attempt, that's fine. We can coordinate in the Slack channel and create a pull request.
I have like an organizational question for myself. What I'm trying to understand, like the purpose of what we're trying to do is, are we trying to create this open API spec first of all, or are we trying to create some MVP product that would implement this spec as well, or like both? Like what's the scope that we're trying to achieve?
I think we need to. Jan, do you still have a raised hand, or did you forget to take it down?
Forgot it, sorry.
No worries. I think as an answer there that we need to specify the protocols in text to have some normative, but also just answer yes and yes to a question. If we can define open API specs, I would be very happy because that makes tooling much easier with the generators out there and validators out there. That would help interoperability, and interoperability is really what we're after here. We want all kinds of systems to be able to retrieve all kinds of artifacts from vendors. So
sounds good. But so the minimum that this group is aiming for is text listing protocols, and open API is nice to have. Is it? Is it
I
correct?
would make it a bit stronger than nice to have.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like Steve said, if we do things that can't be done in OpenAPI, then we have other problems to solve. But as long as we can stay into something that works within OpenAPI, I think that's brilliant. I mean, this structure can, as long as I see it right now, we can definitely declare it in OpenAPI components.
For sure, for sure.
So that shouldn't be any problem. But we haven't looked into the object methods, but maybe that's a good topic for next meeting, I think. Okay, I think we reached a point where we can just say that we had a really good meeting, being constructive, and we've been taking care of a lot of administration. I'll make sure we'll get the invites out to the invite experts, and I create a Google Doc so we can work on our big show to attract people and companies and get understanding. Okay? Anyone else who want to say something before we close? So let's stop the recording and say thank you, and then we'll see if there are things to say after recording stopped.